Have you ever looked at the way a business priced its goods and wondered to yourself what they were trying to accomplish? Well, hello there and good day. Thank you for joining me. I am FrostPDP, and today we're doing something a little different and discussing some observations I made about a dinner my wife and I recently had at Chili's. No, this video isn't sponsored or anything. I just found this to be an interesting set of data points, and I wanted to share what I drew from it and see what you all think. First, let's look at the price of milk at Trader Joe's the other day. A half gallon of milk costs $1.99 or about 2 bucks even. Let's assume we don't know anything about the milk market for a second. If a half gallon costs $2, we can imagine a full gallon costing no more than 4. About a 100% increase in cost for a 100% increase in size. Let's look at how much it really was. Well, truth be told, it's way less. A gallon is actually priced at $3.39, which is, if we break out our calculators and divide the gallon value into the half gallon, only about 70% more than the half gallon costs. Basically, it's way cheaper to buy a whole gallon at once, and there could be some sensible reasons for Trader Joe's to price their milk this way. Friendly disclaimer, I am not a logistics analyst with hard data on my hands. These are just some easy considerations to make. Mainly, it's got to do with packaging and distributing larger quantities at a time. There's less plastic used, so there's a tiny bit of savings on that. It actually costs about the same to ship the two based on their mass in transit. There's also less time spent on restocking as well, as less shelf space is left after each sale to boot. Maybe somebody who works at Trader Joe's or another supermarket might know more and be able to explain it better. But that's why I was so confused by the way Chili's structured its deals the other night. Now, I'm quite often a steak guy when I go out to a restaurant, and Chili's makes a pretty good steak. I'm also a habitual guy. Once I find a particular meal at a restaurant, I tend to stick with it. So when I arrive to most places, I know what I'm going to get unless something else really leaps out at me. Based on this photograph of a menu, as well as typically what I get, here's my meal from that night. Here we can see that I got a 6-ounce sirloin steak, which comes complete with two sides for a base price of $11.99. I added a side salad for an additional upcharge. I don't have the exact upcharge value, but as you'll see in this case shortly that it's not going to matter. I also got a drink, but for now let's put that aside. One could just as easily have gotten water instead or an alcoholic beverage. The key point here is that a sirloin and two sides costs $11.99, right? I could have upcharged to a 10-ounce sirloin for a total of $16.99 instead, and honestly, that isn't a bad price. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Chili's had a promotion going on that's pretty common in the casual dining market. In their case, it's a 2 for 22, where you get to choose one option from a specific list of appetizers and two choices from a list of entrees, all for a flat cost of $22, with drinks billed separately. In the past, Applebee's has offered a 2 for 20, but I guess with inflation and wage increases, Chili's felt like $22 was a better price point. Anyway, let's break the offer down a little bit more clearly. We are allowed to choose from one appetizer on the list, or in our case, two side salads, as well as two entrees. The 6-ounce steak is one option for an entree, with a $4 upcharge to go up to a 10-ounce steak. The entrees also come with two sides each, so again, broccoli and fries are my choice because hey, I'm just like that, okay? Once again, drinks aren't included, so we can just factor drinks out for a second, and each meal costs $11 each. Did you notice what just happened? Here's the math. With both meals, I would have gotten the 6-ounce steak plus two sides. With the 2 for 22, which is actually cheaper than the main menu price at $11 versus $11.99, I got a free salad included with my meal. Basically, in case there's any confusion, that means it's cheaper to use their deal than it is to get the meal on its own. But that's not even the extent of the discounts. With the 2 for 22, it only costs 4 bucks to upgrade to a 10-ounce steak. Basically a dollar an ounce. With the regular menu, it would cost 5 bucks instead at $16.99, a 25% higher cost. So what are some conclusions we can draw from all of this? And I'm kind of going to spitball a little bit here. First of all, is the base menu cost inflated? I think probably yes, but not as much as you might think. Remember, when they price food out, they're including the cost of the food, the labor to cook it, the labor to serve it, the labor to ship it, and a little profit for themselves. So it's hard to say how much an extra ounce of steak really costs, but it's worth wondering, why can you upgrade one thing to another for free or for less? That's sort of a weird thing. which leads you to wondering if the lower cost is meant to encourage more purchases. Maybe it's meant to get people in the doors. That's a consumer relations question. You know, does knowing this make you think that, hey, I can go to Chili's and get a good deal? Maybe I'll spend a few more bucks on a drink, which actually is relatively inexpensive for them to give you in comparison to, say, food. Um, Maybe for the next question, do other entree costs yield better returns? Remember, I'm just talking about steak here. I would have to cross-reference all of the options on the specific list. And by the way, the more pricey items in the menu are not going to be on this list. I'm surprised the steak ones. Many places don't include the steak. It's going to be a matter of what they think is going to be effective with relation to the cost of actually producing you the meal. If they think they're going to make more sales, well, then to answer the last question, yes, that makes sense. If they're going to bring more people in with this kind of deal, and if they're going to, sacrifice a little bit of their margin in order to inflate their sales numbers and keep things going, well, that's a great idea. And if it works to get people in the door and making them money, and hey, that's great. Especially if you can go in and say, I got a relatively cheap meal that was pretty good. That's how you stay in business. These kind of deals do have some effect, and personally, I think it's not a bad idea. But maybe you differ. Maybe you know more about this than I do. If you work in the industry or something, please leave a comment. Let me know your opinion because, hey, I'm just a guy who's throwing out ideas and is curious about stuff. You might have the answers to my questions. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. It's a little different than my usual content, but I hope it's proven thought-provoking. If you enjoyed this video, mash that pause button and hit the like and subscribe buttons. And don't forget to check me out on some other services this lovely internet thing offers. For example, on Twitch, I'm FrostPDP, and on Twitter, I'm also FrostPDP. I will be happy to engage you in any conversation you'd like there or in the comments. I really do appreciate the support you guys show me. It really warms my heart. And as always on this channel, La Paz. Oh, and they have a 3 for $10 lunch menu. That probably also is cheaper than the base price of its components, but that's clearly a limited time only deal to get you hooked on what they make, right? Well, maybe.